Okay, welcome back, everyone. It's great to be back and on and going again. So for tonight, I think I was going to double back and take another pass at that material design PR that we had been looking at before. Now that C# 9 and .NET 5 are officially released, woot, woot, woot. Was going to see about getting that finally merged in. I realize it's going to be a significant breaking change for everybody, specifically bringing in the nullable reference types. But it is something that I would like to get moving forward because it'll help protect us from errors in the future. So, without further ado, let's get this thing going. Visual Studio, where are you? I have lost my Visual Studio. Oh, it is just on the wrong screen. Come on, come on, you can move. So for anybody who is interested, it is worth knowing that if you're wanting to use .NET 5 or C# 9, you do need to install the latest Visual Studio. So Visual Studio 16.8 or newer. You'll note I'm still on a preview because as soon as 16.8 went GA, I figured, hey, why not? Let's just go straight to 16.9. I mean, why not? Because I'm a glutton for punishment. So we are gonna take a crack at this guy. So I think, let me get myself. Sorry, I had a chaotic evening and am running just a wee bit behind, just a wee bit. So let's see here. Where did we leave off? So nothing newer has come in since we rebased last week. I know there's been some. That doesn't seem right. I know there's some PRs. I saw some work go in on, and I was gonna take a quick look at them. So I guess there's just one. So let's take a look at this PR real quick, um, because I'd kind of like to get this merged. Oh, I don't need my VM anymore. We don't need that VM. So let's do this. Yes, go ahead and check that out, please. And let's get at this. There was a comment that showed up on the Getter chat room earlier today of just my absence there and answering questions, and I do apologize. My time has been quickly getting swallowed up by a number of things that have nothing to do with open source or programming, and unfortunately, it's meant that I have a lot less time, and so I've been trying to prioritize where I can provide the most value. So I do apologize if you're one of the people who I haven't gotten around to answering your questions. It's not that I don't want to, and I still look at them. I just have not had the time to be able to go in and take care of them. So this guy here, so this is adding in, okay, so this is adding in a new attached property. This doesn't seem bad. It's just simply setting the background of the toggle button so that you have a setter for it. This is the content site where everything goes in and out. Yeah, because this guy has dock panel top. Yeah, right there in front of me. So this is just attaching the background to an attached property so it can be set. The default is the default of brush because there's not anything else being specified here. I do wonder if it would be better to explicitly call that out. It's fine. Expression bodied members, great. No strong preferences. This is just a default type of brush. Now, in general, if you're strictly following the material design stuff, you probably don't need anything other than solid color brush. They very much push against gradients. However, there are still good use cases, in my opinion, for like a linear gradient brush or a radial brush. Used sparingly, but they're still good use cases. This seems like an easy one. So, easy approve. Great work. Thank you. Submit. And we'll let that go because I did see somebody else also code reviewed this because initially it was set to a Just a straight solid color brush. Does this need to be included in release notes? Sure, that's probably not a bad one to include in release notes. Squash merge, squash merge. Boom. Okay, and then we'll go and grab the latest icons. And this will just ensure, usually I use this icons PR as just a way of kicking off my automatic nightly releases, because the nightly releases go out any day where something merges in. And so oftentimes just the fact that the CI works on these, just a convenient auto kick every time. Okay, back to nullable reference types. And I don't think this one will take too terribly long to do. So we're going to jump back here. And let's see, we need the latest master branch. Pull that guy up. And we're just going to rebase right on top of him. So for those people who aren't familiar with it, okay, I keep running into this issue. Visual Studio likes to hold on to things, specifically because of the NuGet changes in this branch. When you rebase, what it does is it backs up on your branch to the last commit that you did, and it replays these commits in order, starting with the branch that you're rebasing onto. So I have all of these commits that were on my branch, and so it replayed them one at a time on top of master. And if there were any conflicts, it would have stopped me and said, hey, what are you doing? But you'll now notice it shows 19 forward, 17 behind, right? So it's because my local pointer is way up here, and in order to get back to here, I'd have to go back, or I'd have to go down 19 and then up 17, or consequently, bring this guy down 17 and then up 19 in order to get him here. So in our case, we're just going to say, don't care, force push. And away we go. So that one there that we just merged in is going to require us to go and make a small change, because this one is enabling nullable reference types, and that attached property has not been updated for it. Now, part of why I wanted to go back over this one is I suspect that I have a significant number of attached properties that probably are reporting a non-nullable type when it is in fact nullable. So I kind of want to go back over all the attached properties and dependency properties, because that's my most likely failure case. And then just for fun, assuming we get all that done, we might have a little .NET 5 support. Let's see here. So what are you complaining about? Something, something, something. Assets file. Doesn't have a target for net 452. Blah, 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 blah. This sounds like I need to clean everything and rebuild. I've seen these errors a lot recently, fighting with all the new stuff, and in general those things are coming from, okay, so what are you telling me? Ma apps, let's go and look at this project. What are you trying to tell me here? So error list pin. So what are you saying? Does not have a target for netcore app 3.1. Right. We're going to just claim bankruptcy real quick. CD material design toolkit. So this is a command you never run unless you are confident you have all of your changes checked in, which we are. So git clean, directory force, everything not under source control, nuke it. You'll note, blows away all your bin debugs, your .vs directory. It's a great way to clean your checkout and get it back into the same state it was in when you first cloned. It's also highly abusive and is a great way to lose all your work. So don't do that. Okay, and ultimately what we're looking to see is getting these things turned on. The last thing I think I'm going to do, and I mentioned it briefly at the very end of my last stream, is I think I'm going to turn on warnings as errors on the pipeline, but not necessarily in the projects. That way it makes it easy for people wanting to contribute and help, but it still keeps that quality bar high. So that's what we're going for. And we apparently have a few warnings that need to be addressed. Just a couple. But some of these look like they might be highly misleading warnings. So, and you'll note I'm set to build only, not build plus IntelliSense. So I've seen this happen a lot where people will pull both of these up, and this is the default. So just be aware that. Okay, so now we're back down to 11. That's looking a little better. So let's see, what are you squawking about here? I'm a little surprised to see these. So these MC ones don't bother me that much because those aren't. I'm trying to remember what the MC stands for, but these are XAML based ones. So what's going on here? What do you mean dialog host can't be found? It's right there. See, look, I found it. See, it's right there. It's referenced from there. Yeah, I'm going to go with that thing's lying. So we're going to throw that away for the moment. Okay, so what is the easiest way to hunt through all of my dependency properties and attached properties? I think a straight search, right? So if I just go to material design themes and pick on, say, button assist, right? And I go to attach property, everything is going to be stemming off of this. So find all references. That's better. I was going to say, we have a few more than 2 attached properties. Last I checked, there was a couple. This looks more better. It is mildly obnoxious. Does it allow me to group by definition only? Yeah, I get what you're doing, but thanks. Not what I wanted you to do. I just want to collapse. Boy, it would be really nice if there was a way to do this. I realize it has to do the separation for target type, but man, I really wish there was a grouping to cover that. Okay, so let's look at this. So for example, this is a doc, this is an enum, this is okay that this is returning non-null. Okay, so one down. Right, and I think what we're going to do is I'm just going to pin this sucker, and we're just going to walk through these one at a time. Please don't open those every time I click on them. That is the same one. So we're going to do 2 at a time, it looks like. So we are just going to skip all the framework ones and just do the core ones. That way we don't have to do it, because I don't think we've got anything in here that differs by target framework. Let's see, uniform corner radius. So this is a double, can't be null. But let's see, autocode is suggesting this. So we are going to, while we're in here making breaking changes, let's make lots of breaking changes, right? Because if we're going to break something, we're going to do them all. Okay, so that's a double. That's returning a non-nullable. That's fine. We're skipping framework. Let's look at this one. Color zone mode, once again, is an enum. Doesn't matter. What does the autocode button suggest? Sure. Thanks. I'm going to just collapse you because you're just in my way right now. Let's see. And I want to do all of you in the document, please. Yes, please. So shadow depth is also an enum, so that one doesn't matter as well. Really, what I am looking for is reference types that are not marked as nullable. That should be. Because attached property, there's no real way to do a not null attached property that's a reference type. Just not really possible. I'm going to move these down. Just like I know I'm running my font size a lot bigger than most people, but I do like having, that's not right. Constant should need that. somebody wants to track that down in the editor config, that would be great. But this one here, for example, right? So here's a mistake. This is a perfect example. So this is claiming that it's a non-null brush, but this is an attached property, and more importantly, the default is null. So I know a null is possible. So this really needs to be marked as nullable, and these are the types of ones that I'm looking to track down. Of all of these cases where it's not a compile error, it's not even a compile warning, but it will be highly misleading to anybody who has nullable reference types enabled in their project when they get back the incorrect inferences. So let's see, this is a double, so that doesn't matter. We know that doubles are still structs and still not possible. Brush opacity, I'm assuming, is a double. And it's inline, but not an expression body. So we're going to definitely fix that. Be an expression body. Thanks. Okay, let's see. Okay, so that covers all of that. Great. So that is that guy. Oh, we did a framework one when I said I was going to just do the core ones. Oh, is that it for attached properties? Really? No, that can't be right. There's an overload we're missing. For example, that expander assist, the one that literally just got added, I know should have gotten flagged. Oh, it's probably because it's a different overload. Got it. Okay, same thing. We're going to skip framework and oh, this is literally the only one. But once again, this should definitely be nullable, nullable, and nullable. Okay, so let's just carry down through this decompiled stuff. We'll hunt the references. Find all references. Let's see, color zone mode. That one doesn't. Oh no, that is the one that we literally just did, isn't it? Yeah. Let's do the last one now. So no references to that. Really? Okay, let's try. Let's hunt down these dependency properties. No. Okay, how about this one? Let's see. That one's got a lot of hits. So we'll skip framework, go straight here. So this is another example. This should be nullable because get value is going to return us a nullable one. Yeah, because the default is null, which means null is definitely plausible. So skip framework. Let's see, badge of type object. Apparently we already got that one. Great. Badge background, we got that one. Brush, got that one. Enum, that's handled. Let's see, storyboard. Did not get this one. And we will auto code that guy into an expression bodied. Let's see, color zone mode is a enum, but we will expression body these guys while we're here. Let's see, corner radius. That'll work. Enum or struct, I guess. I kind of like the idea of that guy. Double. Icon is already marked as nullable. Brush is marked as nullable. Excellent. Foreground marked as nullable. Deletable is a bool. Command is nullable. Parameters nullable. Tooltip. Time. You are a datetime object. That is fine. Bool. Bool. Enum. Enum. Style. And it is already marked as nullable. So just for anybody unfamiliar with it, the question mark is how you indicate that your reference type is nullable. Double. Let's see, color, HSB. This one is a struct, so that's actually okay. Doc is okay. Enum, because I'm not looking to, I'm trying to make these changes as not abusive as possible. Control template. This one, not fixed. That should be nullable. That should be nullable. So we will expression body that. Expression body that while we're here. And I'm guessing we probably didn't do any of these. Yep. Yeah, we kind of missed them all. So that's okay. That is okay. And I'm being hesitant to hit the apply to the whole document in here because this one's a little bit bigger and I kind of want to go through it one by one just to look at it. Make sure we don't miss anything. This is one of those PRs where I think I want to favor detail over speed. So double, enum, brush. You are wrong. Get both of those converted. Double, bool, enum, or struct, double. We're going to come back and hit that up in a minute. Let's see, that's the end of it. So let's actually go back up. And now I think I'm going to just say apply to the whole document because I don't want to think too hard anymore. Yep, there's a bunch of them. Just kind of spot check them real quick and ship it. Carry on. Object. Here's another one we missed. This guy should be nullable. Okay. Is open as a bool. Dialog content is definitely nullable. Content template, definitely nullable. I'll just clear that out real quick and then come back into it. Template selector, definitely nullable. Because it is worth knowing that there's nothing that guarantees any of these things. Ooh, string, nullable. These nullable reference types don't have runtime support for checking for null. So there's nothing inherently magical about setting these things to nullable or not nullable. The difference is how the compiler is going to treat them. So it will start giving you warnings if it sees you assigning something to null that you've told it shouldn't ever be null. I'm missing it. Snack bar message queue. Where's the thing? There it is. Or vice versa, right? If you check something for null where it doesn't need to be. Now, the exception is because we're doing a library where people may be using this with or without nullable reference types turned on. So you have to be careful to make sure that you do it in a backwards friendly way. And you still want to check for null on anything that's a public API. So anything where somebody might still pass me a null, because I don't know whether the people calling my library are running the latest compilers, whether they've got nullable reference types turned on. And so they may not know that they aren't supposed to pass null to me because they aren't getting those extra compiler checks. So it's important to just keep that in mind, that if you have a public API, just because you mark something as non-nullable doesn't actually protect you from someone just passing you null. So if you're building a library that other people are going to consume, just know that you should not trust anything that's passed to you. So you get to declare it as your desired API, but people might reject it. So we got a bunch in here, so it's really good that we came back through all these. I was pretty sure that I had missed a lot of these when I initially converted to nullable reference types, because these things wouldn't generate any compiler warnings, so they never tipped me off when I was just going down the list. So I think that is what we will do, is we'll just get these guys all converted. And boy, there's going to be a ton of these in here. So string, once again. I will say I really do like nullable reference types turned on. It does take a little getting used to. You kind of have to unlearn a lot of what you already know about C#. And when in doubt, it's okay if something's nullable, right? Like there's a lot of cases like in this, for example, here with WPF. With these dependency properties, it's just kind of a fact of how these things were designed from the beginning that they will contain null. And so you just have to declare them as nullable. Some people get really hung up on really wanting to declare something as not null. It's like, well, unless you can be absolutely certain that it's not null, right? You've done a null check or something to protect yourself against null. You need to just declare it nullable and let that propagate in and out. And oftentimes you'll find some areas of your some areas inside of your library where you get to a situation where your code was assuming non-null, but you actually ended up with a you were assuming non-null, but you realize that there is actually a because you've had to specify nullable up and down, that there is a possibility to get null to come all the way through. Let's see. So string. So I'm going to be a little shocked if at the end of changing all of these things to be nullable, if there's not at least a few warnings that crop up inside of the library where it then complains and says, hey, you told me that this was non-nullable, and now you're telling me it's nullable. What's going on? You crazy? Because the compiler is really good at keeping track of a lot of variables. I am not. Which is why we use the features of our tools, because they are much smarter than we are. Or at least they're much more consistent than we are. Humans make too many mistakes. Yeah. And I realize IntelliCode is trying to help me. I'm sorry, IntelliCode. I don't trust you here. I want to be very, very explicit about every change that's going in. So as much as you want to help me, hands off. Go away. Okay. And then I think we'll also take a look, because I think we're going to burn through this pretty quick. I think we'll look at Net 5 and C#9, and maybe just for fun, we'll just throw in Net 5 support. So last night I actually got Net 5 support. Was it last night? One of the nights. There's been nights. My XAML test library, I added Net 5 support to it. And so we might pull that in and have some fun with it. Oh, that one I got. Oh, I'm in a different file. That's why. So clearly Flipper is already handled, at least in most of these cases. Sort direction is an enum. Date time. Okay. What are you complaining about? Expression body. Sure. I wish I could say expression body on new line. That's a thing that I want. That is really, really a thing that I want. And apparently a thing that I'm not going to get. Or at least not unless I go and build it. So that one's set. Template set. That one's set. That one's set. Oh man, I got a bunch of these. I did start picking it up and catching a bunch of them before. That one's set. That's a bool, bool, enum, 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 double, double, bool, bool, int, but we're gonna expression body these guys. Do all the things real quick for me. Pretty please. Go IntelliCode. Okay, ding ding, enum, int, style, mistake. you need to be nullable. Template needs to be nullable. But apparently I expression bodied this one, so I was in here at one point and then just clearly did not update all of these as appropriate. Let's see, orientation is fine. Is read only the bool. Brush is wrong. I want you to be nullable brush. Expression body, expression body. Keep going. Bool. Go ahead and do them all. Go ahead and do them all real quick. I know you want to. Come on. Yeah, I do apologize for everybody who has existing clones, because when this merges, it is going to be a significant churn on the library. And I will go and update the documentation for what's going to be needed. It's worth noting that even though I'm making these changes to use the latest and greatest stuff, it's only if you're compiling the project from source. So if you're referencing the NuGet package, nothing's changing for you. I shouldn't say nothing. I think the minimum framework is going up to .NET 4.5.2 from .NET 4.5, because 4.5 is out of support. But 4.5.2 is still within support. So that, I think, is one of the biggest breaking changes. So, and I imagine if you're on 4.5, you're probably up to 4.5.2 anyway, because it is a minor rev, a fairly easy update. That one is fixed. So just be aware of that, but you are not required to use nullable reference types in your project to use this NuGet. You are not required to use C#9 or any of the new stuff just by using the NuGet package. So just be aware of that. That is not a requirement. And we might have a little bit of fun, because one of the big features of C#9 is it has what's called a record type. So people who've been around C# for a long time will know that there's kind of a few basic types that are built in. Struct and class are the two common ones. So struct is a value type, class is a reference type. And usually when people say that, what they're talking about is whether is my value passed by reference or passed by value, i.e. is there a copy that goes in or not. And records are a class. They're basically an auto-generated class that comes with a lot of the magic that you would want when you're building up simple C# data objects, right? So it has equality operators built into them. It has deconstructors built into them. It'll do the hash codes, and it does all of that stuff for you, and you can declare them on a single line. So that's pretty cool. And they're one of my new favorites. Possibly my favorite feature. Let's see here. That one's already done. So that's already handled for us. So I think we are almost done with this. Register read only. So let's get through these real quick. Geometry. Is that a reference type? It is. Okay, so you need to be nullable. It's interesting to me that we have this setter here when this thing's registered read only. Okay. I don't know why that is the case, but it is. Bool double clock button. Where are you? So you don't have an accessor on you, so you're fine. You don't have an accessor on you, you're fine. Okay, a little weird. Int. I mean, these read-only ones are kind of somewhat expected. Let's see. There you are. So we'll do these guys here. Oh, that is not the right change. Let's try that one on for size. So let's keep going down through here. So I assume you are the obvious next one. Yeah. Yeah. You're going to do it. I like this. Show 2 new IntelliCode suggestions. Huh, that's kind of cool. I haven't seen that before. I wonder if that's one of the new things. The other thing that came out that's pretty slick with all this new .NET 5 stuff is they added they added in a whole slew of analyzers, a whole bunch of them, for a lot of common cases and even things that people might not realize are performance problems. But the issue is that if you have warnings as errors turned on in your project, it means anytime those new analyzers flag something, that warning would then propagate up to you as an error, which is less than ideal. Made a mistake on that one. So what they did is they made a property on your CS project that you can set called analyzer. I believe it's called analyze level or analyzer level. I don't remember exactly. But you can go and set that to 5, and that'll bring in all of the fancy new .NET 5 analyzers. So if you are wanting to make sure you're getting all of the benefits of the .NET 5 analyzers, but you don't want to have to actually upgrade, you can certainly do that. Okay, so that one's fine. That one's fine. Okay. Let's do this registered read only. Let's clear some of these. Too many tabs. Too many tabs. Let's do find all references. None there. Find all references. Let's see here. What do we got? Local info. You are a class. So you are nullable. And you are not an expression yet. So be an expression. Because I don't want to think too hard. And be an expression. So we will do question marky there, question marky there. And that's all of those. Okay, registered attach read only. Next one. So then find all references. I believe these are the ones we already looked at, right? Yeah. These are the ones we already did. So I think that covers it. So let's go ahead and just confirm that we are actually in a good state, and then we will have some fun. And see what we can do. Uh-oh. So this is actually perfect. This is what we wanted. So these are the specific warnings as errors that I was referring to. So because we've now changed some stuff, this is going to start propagating up. So for example, this guy's now calling out that this method here was told to take in a non-null template. Right? So now we want to check. Oop, change it to is null. Does this thing here, this thing is tolerant of null. So you can take in a null. And I think that'll handle all of those. And while we're in here, it's worth noting, so the equals null is fine in most cases. The issue comes that if you use that on a type where somebody's overridden the equals operator, because the equals operator is effectively a virtual member that can be, or virtual member is the wrong word, because it's based on type. But it can be overridden by types to have its own behavior. And so if somebody has written a poor equals implementation and what you really care about is just checking for null, it's better to do something that explicitly checks the reference against null rather than something that might use somebody else's method implementation. So for most things, if there is no implementation of the operator hasn't been implemented explicitly, it's just going to work, and they're going to do the exact same thing when they get compiled. So let's see what this is. So this says dialog content is returning a nullable thing, but this was not null. So let's change that. And then we'll compile again and then see if that causes any issues. Because I do have warnings as errors currently turned on in the project. And you'll note that it's not these other warnings that are coming up from the XAML stuff don't count, right? This is warnings that start with CS something or another. MC doesn't matter to me right now. Okay, cool. So we're going to stage all. Let's see. Cleaning up nullability for dependency properties. Boom. And we'll do that. We'll do that. We'll push that. Mostly because I just want to let the CI system confirm that everything's still A-okay. But while we're letting that guy run, so we'll get, nope, that is my VM. Did I not leave GitHub open? My intent was to leave GitHub open. I'm bad at leaving GitHub open. Because this guy should kick off. And I want to see the check run. So I just want to see this go to a green circle to confirm everything's A-okay. Okay, so what we want to do is we now want to change the way warnings as errors works. Because I like it on locally so that it flags and yells at me. But I am also well aware that when people are initially developing, warnings as errors can be really abusive and kind of obnoxious to deal with. So my thought here as a fair middle ground is, let's take a look here. So for example, WPF colors or material design colors, right? Simple library. Or do I have this defined in directory build props? So these guys here are the kickers, right? Is I've got warnings as errors, and specifically this one, treat warnings as errors, is the big one. So what we want to do is we want to take these guys out of here, right, so that they don't exist. Because right now they're being applied to every project in the solution because of where this directory build props file lives. This is just common stuff that gets propagated. You'll also note that it is being set to Lang version 9. So this is C#9. So if somebody tries to open this up in an older Visual Studio, they will get an error saying that they need to update. So just be aware of that. But once we take this out of here, what we want to do is update the pipeline so that it goes through and still enforces it. Oh, and we can change this. This is no longer going to be an RC. Why are we using .NET 5? Oh, we were just getting the later compiler. That's all. That is all. So this .NET build, you'll note here we are actually passing through additional arguments to go through and be set. And so I think what we're going to do is we're just going to go through and pass in. Oh, this is one massive long line. That's why it looks funny. Okay, so we are just going to go through and add an additional property. So specifically this guy here, treat warnings as errors, right, gets true. And we'll just pass it there, and then we don't have to deal with it here. Again, this is just here so that we can enforce it on the pipeline, but I don't need to be abusive with it when people just want to contribute, because I do want this to try and be an easy project to contribute to. Okay, so there's that, and I think that may just about be it. Yeah, so add warnings as errors on the pipeline. Okay, boom, 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 and push. There we go. So that gives us yet one more little bit. And I'm not entirely sure how my DevOps is going to handle that. Let's go and look. I think it just queues up a second one. Yeah, thank you. So yeah, this is the one that's been running. Failed to compile. That's... Oh, this got canceled. Got it. So that answers that question. So it cancels the previous run and kicks off a new one. Okay, that is all well and good. And I think while we're waiting on that, let's go get this wiki updated. So compiling from source. So we're going to change this. Visual Studio 19, 16.8 or later. With net... oh boy. So we should check this. I don't actually know. This might actually require both SDKs. Well, let's look. Do we have anything that's actually targeting net 5? I don't think we actually need... I think the key thing here is that we need... Yeah, and I suspect there's a separate... So here's what's tripping me up. Is I think this is probably sufficient. Actually, I wonder... I bet you this is sufficient. Because I want Visual Studio version 16.8, but I don't actually need net 5. Because we aren't targeting net 5 yet. Okay. We're gonna sit and wait for just a moment. Fix my horrible spelling that apparently no one's caught. Let's see. So we're gonna let assuming this thing builds, because that's mostly all I'm interested in now. I want to kick one more after this and see if we can get away without .NET 5. Because if I can cut this down, and I think I want to change this. Let's see. Task. Let's put a display name. Let's see. Use Net Core 3.1. Put a friendly name on it. And just a cleaner name. Okay, so specifically in here, we are going... I believe this is all that's needed. Is 16.8 or later, because we need the C#9 compiler. C#9 compiler is required. That's fine. Let's see. After cloning. See, these two, this is no longer going to matter. Because with this PR, we eliminate packet. Okay, so we're going to change this. So we're just deleting documentation, I guess, is how this is going to play out. I think this is it. Okay, so we're going to leave that there. I don't want to hit the save button until I'm ready. Let's see. 4.0 breaking changes. I think we should double check, but I think every single one of these has already been done. Let's see. This is what I actually want to edit. Let's see. So we kind of want to go big, bold. C# 9, Visual Studio 16.8 is now required to compile from source. Let's see. Nullable reference types are enabled. I think I want to put a link to that. Because these were actually a C# 8 feature. Nullable reference types. Yeah, this guy here. And there's a clever little trick you can do with these links too. So I'll show you this as well. So if you do this, you paste the link in, and then if you come over here, if you drop the language bit, they'll actually try to detect the user's locale and language and put in the appropriate one. So if you take that off, it'll help people who may not speak English land on the right link. Now I realize the text for my link is in English, and then they get something localized, but it's a little better. Let's see. So C# 9. Yeah, we're going to update that. And let's just confirm. Okay, so that works just fine. So let's take this one step further and say, okay, let's get rid of, let's see, removing net 5. So we will come back to the net 5 stuff in a minute. Because it is also worth noting about net 5, you don't need this library to update to use net 5. If you would like to start using net 5, you can start using it and reference libraries that are targeting net core 3.1. Just works, right? So, because there is an outstanding issue where somebody asked for net 5 support. Back on the issues page, right? Add support for net 5. I flagged this as a question because you don't actually need this package to do anything to get net 5 support. So just reference it, and away you go. Okay, so that's going. We wanted to check and see if these other breaking changes, if these have already been done. So let's look at dialogue theme first. And something in the back of my head is telling me I did these already. I just maybe didn't check them off the box when I did them. Let's check. Dialogue theme, or I'm sorry, dialogue host, dialogue theme. Yeah, that guy. Your default should be set to inherit by default now. It's taken the default of base theme, which is inherit. So this is in fact done. So let's do pop-up assist, pop-up mode. Come on. Oh, that's why. Pop-up box, pop-up mode. That's what we want. So you should now have been changed to click rather than over eager, which I suspect that is the default, which you have been. So that's done. Let's try this one. Hint, assist, floating offset. Let's see. Default floating offset. 0.16 rather than 1/16. So that is done as well. So all of these items are done. Okay, so this guy is basically just going to sit here and hang out. I'll flag him release notes because he really should be. Because this is literally just a whole long list of changes of everything that was done. Apparently I must have just cheated those last ones in because they didn't get items linked to them. But most of these other ones all got stuff linked to them, and a large bit of those got done during Hacktoberfest, which Hacktoberfest swag arrived today. Very happy. Let's see. What? I'm sorry. I'm confused. No matching SDK version could be found for version 3.1. Wait, what? I'm sorry, what? Is it expecting use preview versions flag to be set to true? Okay. That's a little shocking. That is not the error I expected to see. Perhaps if the preview versions are I don't remember what it was. Something like that. Let's go back here. Include preview versions. Include preview versions. Okay. I'm wondering if the part that's confusing me is this error is a little baffling considering we've been using, right? So if we look at the latest build off of master, right? And we scroll down, hit the job. Let's see. Hi, how you doing tonight? We are having fun trying to get... Oh, maybe we haven't gotten this to work yet. We're having fun trying to get nullable reference types plugged into the material design library. I am a little confused. Found version 31403 in channel 31. Okay. That's all well and good. That should be fine. I'm a little confused. Best guess is that either this VS one has confused it or it needs preview version set. It just seems weird. Trying with preview versions enabled. Let's see how this works, because there was one night where I ended up spending way too much time digging through the install scripts that are behind these tasks, tracking down all of the versions and whatnot, which is kind of cool. Like, this thing is called version, but it's actually a lot more than just version numbers. You can point it at branches and various things inside of the repo. So just with the way they have it set up in their scripts, they've got it a really clean, easy setup. So even if you didn't want to use the built-in task for it for installing Netcore, you can get away with like just running their script. For anybody who wants to see that, you just do install.NET Core, right? And if you come over here, because I'll show you where you get the scripts. So you come down, and I assume if I go here, so you can come down this. You'll note this bottom one right here. So Linux, Mac, Windows, or you can go give me the install scripts instead. And so what you can do is you can grab the install scripts And so they've got like PowerShell, Bash, etc. And you can go through and use those to download and install .NET on any platform you choose. So if you don't like their built-in stuff and you're just wanting to say query and do it, and if you want to, you could even, like, these scripts are just a fancy helper around querying the web service for, hey, find me the appropriate link for version X, right? And that's all it does. It's not that hard, and you can pull apart the scripts and look at how the URLs are put together and that kind of thing. And so you can customize them to whatever you're building, which is really awesome. So, but that's what the behind the scenes the scripts are doing. Okay, so this guy is really just being problematic. So I am thinking, I'm really actually baffled as to why use.NET version 2, use.NET version 2, package type SDK, package type SDK. This one had no VS version, and it was pointed at .NET version 3143. And in fact, let me just look at the one out on the branch, because I'm wondering, were we? I can't remember. Nope, not there. I want to come down here to my Azure pipeline YAML. Do you even do any installs? You don't. You just straight up use what's installed on the box. I wonder if this image has been updated. Huh. I'm gonna, okay, so next theory. You just whack this all together. Right? Yeah, let's do it. We'll see what version is on there. Okay, I script .NET -- version, right? We're just real quick. We're just gonna check that just to see exactly what's installed on these boxes ahead of time. I think that's what we're going for. Is I want to see exactly what's on the build agent. So the other thing you can do, so we can cheat. I think this will be the faster way for me to figure it out, but it is published information. So Azure DevOps hosted agent images. I just can never remember where to find them. And again, I think it'll be faster for me to just literally run the pipeline with -- version. Huh? Did I botch it so badly that it's refusing to run? No, it's running. See? Oh, it's just slow. It's just slow. Show me what version is installed. Let's see. Show me the command line. I just want to see the command line. Oh, we could actually probably speed this up too. Because I think this thing just checked out a whole bunch of stuff, didn't it? We could make it a shallow clone. So it's got 31403 on there. So okay, so all this time trying to get 31403 installed is a waste of my time. Got it. So this will actually answer the question then of, does somebody need to install anything more than the 3.1 SDK? You do need the visual or the WPF workload, but I've never had a bug about that. I can't recall. So I think people understand that if you're going to do WPF work, there's the kicker. There is the kicker right there. It's because it's not using the new Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna go back. I actually before we just blindly get rid of it, let's edit this pipeline because I think there's got to be a button that says give me. Let's see. Yeah. So we're using Visual Studio 2019. So you can use Windows latest or Windows 2019. And then here's the link for the included software. And this is everything that we get. But I am only interested in .NET, database, Visual Studio. See, this isn't quite right. And this is why I was installing the newer SDK. Because I believe that, well, not believe, I know that is all I need. And I am not convinced. I thought there was a. Okay, fine. We're just going to go back and put back. We'll just put back this use.net. And I think that's all we care to do. So we're going to go, let's see. Not here. Wrong branch. Nullable reference types. We want to do, I guess we should probably do it. We should probably do it here. So we are going to go, let's see, task, and it is going to be a use.net version 2 task. Display name. Let's see. Install net5 SDK. Let's see, and then the inputs for this guy are going to be package type of SDK. Oh, thank you. Let's see, we want version. I posted out on my Twitter for anyone who is interested. So if you want to understand Twitter. Kaboo.dev. If you want to understand how the versioning for the .NET SDK goes, there was a great slide from .NET Conf earlier this week by Kathleen Dollard. So the way their versions go is the first 2 digits is the highest runtime that you can get. So in this case, we want net 5.0, right? So the next number after the period is the quarterly feature band, and then this is the patch number. So if it always seems like they end up with like a 100 or something as in the patch version, if you're used to Semver, that's why is they're basically packing in extra data into this last segment. So this is why it results in unusual version numbers, because this is their scheme. So as long as you track that, it actually makes sense. It's just until you see somebody present that, it's not always obvious that that's what's going on. Okay, version number. We want 5, especially after that. Find a moment. 5.0, quarter release of 1. Let's see, and then this is where we wanted our VS version, because this is the key thing, is we need the newer compiler. We need that beautiful C#9 compiler. Let's see, and I'm going to leave off the include preview versions, because Net5 is now GA. And when I initially did this, it wasn't. Okay, so come back over here, view change, installing Net5. So we're really only installing Net5 for the newer compiler, but the expectation being that we will also be at some point going through and adding in direct Net5 support. So again, you don't need this library to update to use this inside of .NET 5, right? Net 5 is backwards compatible. So any library that targets Net Core 3.1, which this library does, you can reference in a Net 5 app. You're good to go. The advantage of us adding Net 5 support is .NET 5 has a lot of performance improvements. So like on my XAML test library, the unit test suite that I have, the unit tests take about 28 seconds to run. I revved it to Net 5 with 0 other changes. My test run speed went down to about 25 seconds. So by doing nothing, I gained 3 seconds of my life back. So there are some really nice speed improvements. There's a long list of stuff of what they did in Net 5 and C# 9, but a lot of it comes down to just performance gains across the board. And a lot of those performance gains came from taking stuff that used to be unmanaged code and rewriting it in C#. Now, there was a great talk. Oh boy, I'm trying to remember who all was on it. I'm blanking on their names. On the .NET Conf, where they were actually discussing the changes that went in and what it took to actually get those going. It was rather interesting. And so just by rewriting stuff that used to be unmanaged C++ and bringing it into C#, there was a lot of perf that came from that simply because they didn't have to cross that managed to unmanaged boundary, which adds a little bit of overhead. And so just doing things in managed code, it made it easier for, say, the garbage collector to be able to clean things up because it didn't have to deal with walking through unmanaged references. So simply revving yourself up to Net 5 can make you go faster without needing to do anything, which is great. Okay, so this guy is now compiling and working, and I am going to be a little curious to see what the build time of this is in comparison to a master build, because the master builds, let's take a look at this. So this one took about 6.5 minutes. So 637, 622. Let's keep going down. PR build, PR. This one took 7.5, 710, just under 6, 7. That's a PR build. Doesn't count if it's a PR build. Doesn't count. So it looks like maybe about 5.5 on the low end, with 6 being in there. So it's going to be a little hard to tell. But I am very interested to see if this is any faster, because we've added this step here of install the .NET 5 SDK, but we've cut out a .NET restore call, a packet restore call, an install packet tool step. And so I'm going to be a little curious how that works. Okay, so the unit test fail. Okay, so that's exciting. So let's see here. I guess I didn't run them. Oh, so Microsoft Windows Desktop App 3.1 was not found. Do we just cheat? Man, so we either install the Net 3.1 SDK. I'm a little surprised here, though, right? Like, why does this not come out of the box? So let's go and look. Let's see if we can test this. I realize my system's not a clean slate, but sure, hush. So all it's doing is running a .NET test against... Yeah, it's just running a .NET test against that pattern at the root. Okay, so let's just go and do that. Right, so .NET, let's just check what version I'm running under. So I've got the same version. So .NET test, there's the pattern, and let's see. I'm not going to pass the no build. I kind of want it. Oh, so it wants me to actually specify. I think if I just do this, contains more than one project or solution file. Well, that's dumb. Let's see. So we probably want to point it at the full solution. Run there. That should give it enough context to figure it out, because it should be able to find which of these are unit test projects and which ones aren't. And I'm curious if I can replicate the problem here. So clearly not easily. I am noticing the test execution command line 1680. Let's check what output did we get here. So I think the issue is just simply the fact that the tests are being run under .NET 5. Maybe we say screw it and just rev them up. Let's do it, because it'll actually be a nice test, right? So, nope, that is not what I wanted. Nope. Oh, you are going to run the UI test now, which is going to do a whole bunch of stuff. Snuck it in. Boom. Go ahead, finish running the UI test. Do all the things. I will say I very much enjoy having these UI tests, because in a lot of cases they've saved us from shipping a bug, which has been great. Anything that can prevent me from accidentally shipping a bug is well worth it. They do take a little while to run, and the more you add, they start to add up quick, because these tests usually run in, like, they're fast, but they're usually like under a second type fast. So this will actually be a good demonstration of backwards compatibility of .NET Core 3.1. So we'll rev the unit test projects to .NET 5, right? And then we will confirm that they work on the pipeline, because I'd really like to avoid installing both, because it's really coming down to the fact that I just don't have the 3.1 runtime. So we'll just run it. Come on. So the short version is I'm not going to recreate the test failure locally, because I've got everything already installed, which is both good and bad. Okay, come on, go ahead, run all the tests, do the thing. You've got it. I'm just hesitant to touch my mouse, because with these UI tests, there's sort of this weird situation of you can only do so much with them. Okay, so I'm a little hesitant to trust that failure, given that it's just one and I was touching my mouse. So I think what we're going to do is we are going to try and rev the packages up. Yeah, so it's just missing the 3.1 framework, and it found 5.0. So let's rev all of our test projects up, because these should all be possible. I'm fairly confident that's, let me just check on a different project I've got here. Yeah, .NET 5.0. Okay. Just want to confirm what the target framework moniker is for it. So less typing even. Okay, so that goes there. That goes there. I'm hoping dependencies just resolve. Now I've had issues with the preview Visual Studio not necessarily updating very well. So we are going to close and relaunch and just make sure that it gets what it needs. Then we'll have revved this up. So this does mean, though, that if this is going to work, we are going to have to change the docs on this to be and net 5.0.100 SDK. We'll put or later installed. All right, so I do try to keep these docs up to par. The target platform must be set to Windows. See, that's what I was wondering, because we're doing WPFE stuff. Hush now. Stop. That is not where we want to go. We want to be here, and we want to be here. I think that's what we're looking for. So find all the things, rev to all the packages, and then let's see if we build. Assuming these things build, curious if the UI test is going to squawk at me, if it's going to be hip to the idea. I'm very tempted to just rev the XAML test version while I'm in here. So it's worth noting we are leveraging a let's see, it's no longer necessary to use what is it trying to tell me? It's no longer necessary to use the SDK attribute on the UI test. Oh. Consider changing the SDK attribute to the root project element to Microsoft Net SDK. Well, look at that. That was helpful. Thank you. I would love to make that change. Okay. See, the wonderful little analyzers. So we are using the common shared location for doing this. So all of our NuGet packages live here. And I believe 9.0 is the latest release of XAML test that I did. Let's just confirm that. Yep, 0009. So we will pick that up really quick. So if we save that, I'm not sure how quick. How quick do you do this? Do I have to? I think I have to. I have to trigger. I don't know. This new UI mechanism for centrally managing your packages is great, except for it does mean that there's no GUI support for it yet, which is centrally defined. So you seem to think there is a downgrade. I don't know where you're getting that. Is one of you guys causing a downgrade? I'm struggling to figure out how you see Net Core Platforms as a downgrade somewhere. I don't see. I must be missing it. Okay, so let's unload, reload, and you should figure yourself out, right? Then we're going to go unload, reload. You figured yourself out. You figured yourself out, so we just had to kick it really quick. Detected package downgrade. Oh, there's what I'm looking for, the dependency path. Okay, so it's UI test, XAML test 9, drawing common, system events, net core platforms 5.0. So XAML test wants to bring in 5.0, which is correct. That's what we want. But it claims this thing is referencing net core platforms 3.1.3. Show. Let's look. UI test. Am I blind or stupid? Visual Studio, I think you lost your mind. So we're going to try this anyway. I know I can't get it to run locally, but I kind of want to test it against the build agent that I trust a little more to be in a clean state. Let's see, that's just white space. Let's see. Updating test projects to net 5. Because in general, if you're going from net core 3.1 to 5.0, all you have to do is change your target framework. And it just works. So if you're on something older than net core 3.1, the recommendation is to first upgrade from wherever you're at to net core 3.1 and then do the jump to net 5. So that initial jump to net core 3.1 will be the hard hurdle to clear. Going from 3.1 up to 5 is a pretty low bar. There's some esoteric cases where it's maybe not perfectly clean, but for the most part, my libraries have been change my target framework and then occasionally hunt down places where I made mistakes of like hard coding the target framework to be net core 3.1 or something. I'm very confused by this. Detected project downgrade. From where? Like, I understand centrally defined 3.1.3. So it sees the centrally defined one. I have a problem with just changing this to be 5.0 because that means everything's going 5.0 right now. Yeah, see that's a problem. I also don't know what is picking or why it's trying to pick this up. Oh, maybe I do. So let's do a. I don't know if it's going to be hip to this. I don't know if it'll let you do centrally managed and then rev individually. That might be a bit of a problem, but we're going to try it. Okay, so that looks better. Clean. More importantly, we're just going to go grab it and whack it. Bin and OBJ directories. Just both of you go away. I don't want to think too hard. Now rebuild. If it'll let me rev the 1 by itself, that would be really, really convenient. I just don't know if it... Yeah, this is the error I was worried about. Projects that use central version management, blah, 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 can't change these. That is not the error I expect. Yeah. Yuck, 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 yuck. Oh, this is the wrong the wrong target framework moniker. This is the one I want. Yeah, that's the, okay. So let's see. Let's unload. Let's reload. And you go figure yourself out. Five oh. 5-0. Don't know what you're doing, so we're just going to try to rebuild you. Let's see what happens. Ugh. Some days, Visual Studio, some days you are confusing beyond all belief. Unload. Reload. Go figure yourself out. Should not define versions on the packet reference, but on the packet versions. Okay, well, in the interest of seeing this thing work, I mean, we can do this. That is a thing I can do. But I am curious. Let's look. Did this thing pass or fail? 5 minutes ago. Failed. Failed to locate .NET. Failed on the build? Oh, yeah. So it wants... Yeah, so same... Okay, so same issue as what we got locally. So the short version is... Need to fix the local one because the build agent has the same issue. And we might just be going 5.0 right now. This is one of the beautiful things about the directory package props, is it lets you manage all your versions in one place. So if I change it here, it changes for everybody. I was just thinking I wasn't going to bite that bullet off, but yeah, why not? Let's do it. Okay, so that compiled. Updating to Net 5. Sure, let's do it. What could go wrong? I mean, Net 5 has been released since Tuesday. That's like a whole 2 days. That's stable and ready to rock. In reality, it is pretty stable. So don't take my sarcasm the wrong way. My Mountain Dew is running low. Come on. Come on. That yellow dot shows that there's a build running. Come on. GitHub knows there's a build running. Kick it. There we go. Show me what you got. Because we will need to go through and test these packages and verify everything works still, because this is going to be a fairly major change. Yeah, fairly major change. Like I said, hopefully it's not as big of a deal for everybody who's just referencing the NuGet package. For people using the NuGet package, it should just work. That's the goal. That is the goal. It doesn't always work out that way, though. Okay, so we'll let that guy go. We'll let this go. Let's see. We did update this. Well, I think I'm going to be a little more blunt there. Show me the preview. Oh, that's worthless because we have the whole line wrapped in those. Okay. What do they call that? So Visual Studio installer. So I'm thinking I may add a quick reference here. So on the Visual Studio installer, the workloads. Yeah, you're up to date. Let's see, where is the wonder if I just include a screenshot of this. Enable the what is it called? .NET desktop. .NET desktop development workload from the Visual Studio installer. Paste. Hey, aren't you hip to the paste image from clipboard? That's hip to it. I thought this thing had support for just arbitrarily pasting images. Apparently not. That's annoying. Could go and edit it. I think we'll just leave it with text-based. That's fine. That's fine. The key part is that people need to have enough information. Oh, hey, that's looking better. That's looking better. It compiled and unit tests are running. Net 5 for the win. Easy mode. Easy, easy, easy mode. That makes me very, very happy. There's no way this is going to cause anybody any grief, but there's a couple bugs that I'm actually looking forward to being able to resolve and go away, specifically all of the ones around packet restores, because there's been a significant number of users that have run into issues with just packet and the workflow. And I think it largely stems from the idea of, because packet isn't a first-party tool inside of Visual Studio, it has to try and plug itself in as best it can. And it's somewhat limited in what it can do because of that. Because it doesn't have the deep ingrained support that the built-in NuGet restore process has, right? Because there's the design time builds that kick off. So when you load up a project and you see it effectively restoring like your NuGet packages and that kind of things, those are the design time builds. And oftentimes those are also what help keep things in sync so that you get feedback as you're typing and that kind of thing. So that's how Visual Studio knows what's there, what your compile looks like. And that's the hard part to effectively plug into. And just because packet requires all this extra stuff to happen, it makes it a lot more difficult. And I think just having the centralized package management from NuGet will make that a lot better. Yes, this is nice. Though I am also realizing I literally just told it to publish screenshots, and I'm thinking that might be a bug. Where does it put the screenshots? Yeah, so that's probably a problem. So let's build you real quick, and I'm fairly confident what's about to happen is here. Yeah, let's run one of the UI tests real quick. Because I'm pretty sure what's going to happen is it's going to generate. Sure, run. I'm pretty sure it's going to generate a screenshots directory in the wrong spot. Boom. Okay, so let's go and look. If I look here, there's a screenshots folder. WP, yeah, so it needs to be looking in net 5 windows. So this is wrong. This is going to need a change. Net 5.0. See, this is what I mean by places where you have hard-coded in something. And part of me is somewhat tempted to try and pull this out into a variable. I just don't want to. Yeah, I just don't think we're going to. I need to evaluate these version numbers too, because both of these I think are going to need a rev. Yeah, I think those ones are going to need a rev. Okay, so there is that. But I think you failed on something. What did you fail on? A test failed. Oh. Isn't this the same one we saw fail on ours? Dialog host tests. Let's just run that one. Let's just run it and see if it reproduces locally. Dialog host tests. This guy. Yeah, so you're the failure case. Show me the flaw. I am wondering though, I think what I've seen is this guy fail. I'm wondering if this is just too fast given that the animation takes up a little over half of that. Timeout exceeded. Attempts 3. Let's see. So dialog host tests 41 to 43. Don't you take, what is it, Alt 1? Control Alt 1. Control Alt 1. No, that ain't it. There's a way to make that permanent, and I don't remember what the keystroke is. That's right. It's retry that I want. So retry. Let's see. I think what we're going to do is we're going to do a longer retry on both of these. Var retry gets new retry. Min attempts 5. Time span from seconds 5. Just bump it up a little bit because I think it's just because the animations are so fast, or not fast, I guess, in some cases, that okay, so we got a couple more changes. We've got the test change, and we've got screenshot path. Fixing screenshot path. Adding longer retry. And that should fix that. Push that up. Rinse, repeat, and hopefully this is our last run. Crossing my fingers. Crossing my fingers. Because clearly I'm bringing down the success tree on this. Okay, here we go again. Okay, so while that's running, maybe what I'll do is I'll do some small talks on C#9. So let me just throw away some stuff here because I got a bunch of stuff going on. I want to reset all. It's fine. You're on a different branch. Yeah, sure. Reload projects. Great. So I mentioned earlier the idea of C#9 and some of the new features. So specifically, records are one of the key features, because oftentimes what you find that happens is that you end up building these objects to hold on to your data. And to some degree, people started using value tuples a little bit like this, but value tuple doesn't get the nice compile time support. But for a record, specifically around some sort of like data holding object, right? I'm hesitant to use the word like entity or model or DTO or those types of things, which are all potentially applications for a record. But in most cases, it's just your universal POCO that holds data. So what the C# team did is in C#9, we now have this brand new record type. So in a single line of code, I have declared a new class. This is a class that gets generated out of this that has two auto properties, create by and modified by. It's generated up a constructor for me. It's generated up a deconstructor for me. It's generated equality members on this, so I get kind of value-based equality, so that I can compare these things together. And yes, I'm aware that it is named fingerprint. I had trouble spelling one day, and so we went with it. And you'll note with C#9, I can also instantiate it. So even though it's got that new constructor with both of the parameters, right? The created by and modified by, you can actually now in C#9 just omit the type for when you're invoking the constructor. So you can just do new and away you go. So it does mean that you aren't allowed to put var on this side, because somewhere you have to tell the compiler what the type is that you want. But now you can move the type to the left, which now lines up a little bit better, because before there was times where you really shouldn't be using var because the type wasn't obvious, so you had to specify it. But then you get this kind of weird jagged pattern where you've got some vars, some not vars, and some people go, ditch var altogether and that kind of thing. Now I think the better idea is just always specify your type on the left, and now you can read your code left to right like you want to normally, which is great. But back to the record types, they also go through and give you the hash code implementation. And so the other thing that's incredibly nice about them is they're immutable by default. So once I've instantiated one of these records, I'm not allowed to actually go through and set any of these properties, right? And you'll note there's a subtle new keyword that's being hidden from you here. So on, oh, come on, I can do it. Boom. Got it. So you'll note that rather than just the normal get set that exists on a property, there's actually in place of the set this new init keyword. So what that does is it allows you to invoke a property as part of the object initializer. So it's similar to having a read-only auto property where you would omit the setter, except for it expands it out and says, well, you can now either set that property in a constructor or in an object initializer. So it gives you a little bit cleaner way to go through and set up your object. So specifically for values that are optionals, right? There's no way to guarantee that this thing gets set in an object initializer. It's just that's the only place you can do it. And so because these things are immutable, the follow-up theme comes of, well, how do I get a new instance where with some bit of that data changed? And so they added in this new with keyword as well. So you can now take a record, call with on it, and then get a brand new instance of it where you can then use the object initializer to then go through and change stuff on it. So you can move stuff, so you can then say, okay, copy this thing and then tweak these values and hand me back that new copied instance, which is really awesome. Okay, I want to check my build again. Check the build. Well, it compiled the unit test pass. Crossing fingers, hoping that it works. Hoping that it works. Okay, so let's keep talking about records because I can do that. So this was initially part of a longer user group talk that I did with my boss Mark Michaelis. So if people are interested, we may end up doing some recorded sessions on some of these individual talks as well. And so this is actually the end state of the code that we got to. But going back through this, so even though records are immutable by default, and this style of record here where you put effectively kind of the, we'll call it class member signature, right? Inside of the parens up here. These are actually called positional records. So they define effectively the positions of each of your members, right? So the first thing I want is a string called created by. The next thing I want is a nullable string called modified by, and it has a default value of null, that kind of thing. And so that's how it knows what to use to generate up, say, the deconstructor for me and the constructor. But as we showed down here, you can't set those properties. So if you want them to be mutable, you then are forced to declare the properties yourselves. So you can come in here and there's nothing stopping you from adding your own properties. There's nothing stopping you from simply doing a straight get set like we used to do in C#8, but then still getting a bunch of the benefits of these. So if you declare your own auto properties in here, what happens is an auto property behind the scenes in the compiler generates a backing field for this. And so on a record type, when it's generating up, say, the hash code or the equality members, what it actually acts on is those backing fields. So by the fact that this auto property generates a backing field, it then gets to participate in, say, the equality comparisons and that kind of stuff for you. So you can then very quickly create yourself a mutable record that you can then work with, which is even cooler. So you get immutability as a first-class citizen. You can make them mutable with just by declaring your own properties, or if, say, you want to do some initialization in your constructor, because the generated constructor that it creates for you doesn't do any sort of extra validation. So if you've got something where you want to do extra validation or whatnot, go ahead and write it. At that point, though, it's probably best to not use a positional record, or at least understand what the positional record is going to generate for you. Because if you do a positional record, you have to then create a constructor with a different signature here, where you do your extra validation and whatnot. And then more importantly, the compiler is going to validate that you actually call into the records constructor. And in doing so, it's also worth being aware that records can only derive from records. And records can only derive from records. And classes cannot derive from records. So it's records all the way up and down, at least when it comes to inheritance. They can implement interfaces such as like IEquatable, which they come generated with, which is awesome. Okay, back to the pipeline. Oh, yes. Yes. That's what we want to see. That is what we want to see right there. Nice and green and pretty. Oh, yeah. Let's see here. That's a small PR. 183 files. Sorry, I gotta screenshot this because this is the type of thing you screenshot and go, I'm very, very sorry. Just a small PR. Small PR. Just going to hold on to that real quick. Just going to hold on to that. But more importantly, I think we merge this. Yeah, I think we merge this. Let's do it. There is no way at all that this causes anyone any heartache or pain or suffering. Okay, so that is merged. Let's see, save page. Let's see. Oh, we need to change one more thing. Targeting.net. I'm going to change this to say framework 452 or later. All right, because 4.5 is out of support. We can't cross compile as easy for it, and I am not interested in providing support for anything that Microsoft does, because I am not crazy. Okay, so there's all of that. That's built out. That's built out. Yeah. So let's see here. I think some of these are probably closable. I think this one can likely close, as there's been no follow-up. A lot of these ones that sit with question. Let's see here. Might have to come back and review these. I think I'm just going to close this unless there's any more follow-up. If I close something that is that you don't believe has actually been fully resolved, please just let me know. I don't mind reopening things. But typically when I see that there have been responses and things handled, this is the one I was looking for. And this guy here has now been removed. Let's see, please see the latest requirements for compiling from source. Boom, and we should include the wiki link because that is helpful and we like to be helpful. Copy, close and comment. That ain't it. Okay, so that's just gonna scan. I could have sworn there was another one in here. Let's just do this. Packet. Anything that has packet in it. Boom. Boom. We're just gonna start killing these guys off. Boom. And we're just gonna close all of these guys out. Oh, what is this? This doesn't look related to packet. Maps Metro 163. I think we've already changed that. I revved a bunch of stuff, and so this, yeah, maps is on 2.0. So this is no longer an issue. Close and comment. Boom! We closed a bunch of stuff today. Cool. Well, so there was a small C#9 introduction-y bit. If people are interested in learning more about C#9, leave me a comment below. Happy to go through and do longer talks on it. I'm actually going to be giving it at another private company training next week. So I've got the material, and if people are interested in seeing it, I'm happy to go through it and share it out. If people just want to kind of poke at the repo and see, see Spokane .NET User Group in GitHub. That ain't it. That ain't it. Okay. What was it? Spokane .NET User Group. Spokane. Okay, I had him. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go here. Clone repo. There is a open on GitHub. View origin on GitHub. That's the magical incantation. There we go. So if people are interested in checking it out, the code for it lives right there, buried underneath the C#B9 folder. So if you are interested in looking at it, like I said, it doesn't have the talk or any of our slides or anything with it, but that is at least the code and the samples. Be aware everything runs latest and greatest stuff. So that is all of it there. So with that, I think I am probably going to sign off for the night. Tell everybody thank you for joining. Happy coding. We'll see everyone next time.